My name is Katie, and I'm a high school special education teacher, an amateur equestrian, a wife, a mom, and as of 7 weeks ago, a kidney donor. Around day 4 or 5 of my recovery is when I decided I needed to write down a bit about this process and find a way to share it with future donors. To be clear, I am not a medical professional, so please do not consider this a replacement or substitute for the guidance provided by your medical team. For me, while everyone's experience might be a little different, I really appreciated hearing about this process from patients who had actually been through it. Hopefully, you've already been assigned and accepted a donor mentor from the National Kidney Registry. He or she is another great resource to prepare for your recovery, in addition to this video. Here are the most important things that I learned about recovering after you leave the hospital. Hopefully, you have a caregiver who is able to take at least a week off from work to help you out. I imagine you could get by with less, but my husband was able to take 2 weeks off from work, and it was nice to have him there to prepare meals, run errands, and help get me out of the house once I felt ready. If you don't have one caregiver or a group of family or friends who can take turns checking in on you for the first 7 to 10 days, talk to the hospital social worker before discharge about home health care support. Before you get home, see if someone can set up a couple things in your house. I recommend a bed railing for helping you get out of your bed and some bars to put around your toilet to help you with sitting and standing at the toilet. Links for the products that worked for me are in the description box below. I heard from other donors that some people don't like being in a bed right away and prefer a reclining chair to rest and even sleep in. It could make the process of switching between positions, lying to sitting and standing, easier, especially if you have an electric recliner. However, I did fine with my bed, various pillows, and a bed railing. If you do use a bed, I recommend a pillow or two under your knees in addition to a few behind your head. Finally, if you didn't get one in the hospital for some reason, consider buying an abdominal binder as well. This wide elastic band goes around your belly and provides support and compression. It can help reduce pain and swelling and support your abdominal muscles with the strenuous effort of sitting, standing, and walking. When you arrive home, or even before you leave, establish a schedule for your pain medication that you think will be most conducive to supporting your sleep and obligatory movement goals. After having spikes of intense pain 48 hours after surgery, I was reminded by my nurse coordinator to try and stagger the 2 pain meds that I had available to me so that they weren't both losing their effectiveness at the same time. It's likely that you'll be advised to take a maximum dose of Tylenol or acetaminophen every 6 hours and have access to oxycodone every 12 hours upon your discharge. Here is a sample schedule for pain meds that you or your caregiver could write down in your phone and even set alarms to remind you to take it. For the meds during the night, I would suggest not waking yourself up to take them, but when you do wake up, which you almost certainly will more often than normal in those first few days after surgery, and if you see you're close to or past your scheduled medication, then you can take it at that time. Other important things to remember about the timing of your medication include plan on having a snack or meal with your oxycodone to avoid nausea, and plan your walking around the house or even just to the bathroom if you can help it for about 60 minutes after you take one of your pain meds. This is when the medications are most effective. If you discover the oxycodone makes you sleepy a certain amount of time after you take it, plan to walk before or after that time. The one thing that I knew the least about prior to this surgery, but heard the most about from other donors or surgery patients, is the gas. While I don't want to feign expertise about this topic, I learned that laparoscopic surgeries like kidney donation involve inflating the abdomen with carbon dioxide, which often remains after surgery. And while a quick Google search reminded me that kidneys are not part of your digestive system, it is clear that surgery has a significant impact on your digestive system. Your appetite, your pooping, and you guessed it, your gas. Longer for some people than others. I remember being mystified around day 3 about why sometimes my lower incision would hurt more, but sometimes it was my upper incisions. When I was lying down, usually none of them would hurt. One of my biggest revelations was that a major contributing factor to the severity and location of my pain was the intensity and position of the gas bubbles in my body. If there was a lot of gas near my lower incision, then the pain I felt in the incision intensified, especially when I moved. The same was true if there was gas in the upper left part of my abdomen where my upper incisions were. If the gas was in other areas, like on my right side, near my belly button or in my chest, then at least my incisions weren't being exacerbated. All of this gas motivated me to quickly discover the best ways to manage it. There were 5 things that I found that helped with the gas. First, simethicone. This is the generic name for Gas X. There are chewable tablets which tend to treat symptoms more quickly and capsules you can swallow. You're allowed to take 500 milligrams of simethicone each day. On a related note, you were likely prescribed stimulant laxatives to help you get your digestive system working, and I would recommend stool softeners as well. In my experience following surgery, I'd prefer a round or 2 of diarrhea over constipation and straining to go number 2. Here's a revised medication schedule, including these other meds. My medical team really recommended walking to help treat the gas, and I'll admit that I found walking helpful, but in those first few days, it was really hard to motivate myself to do so when getting in and out of bed was by far the most painful thing to do. To make it a little easier, when you're lying down, try moving your body around as much as you can, like flexing your feet and legs, wiggling your hips, stretching your back, even your arms. Making small movements can help loosen up and prepare your body for the bigger movement of getting out of bed. It's likely your nurse will also recommend that you roll to your side and then push yourself up with the bed rail. More reason to get a bed rail to install at home temporarily. And then return to bed that same way. Remember to schedule your walking for about an hour after you've had some pain medication if at all possible. And if you can't bring yourself to get up and walk the gas off, there are some other things you can do. Sometimes sitting up in bed can help you belch out some of the gas more than lying flatter on your back can. You could also try a heating pad. A cheap electric heating pad, check out the link in the description, was a lifesaver for me. I was told by a nurse in the hospital that ice packs were often helpful right after surgery to reduce swelling, but that a lot of patients quickly transitioned to heat. I think the reason is because it does help the gas dissipate, especially when used in conjunction with abdominal massage. While massaging your incisions would clearly be a bad idea, I found a lot of relief from doing small circular motions with my fingertips wherever I felt gas bubbles. This was often around my belly button or starting in the lower right part of my abdomen and then working my way up and around the tract of the large intestine. If you have a lot of gas in your chest, I'm sure the massage would help there as well. I know some donors have used a handheld massager to help with this, but I felt like my hand was sufficient. Remember to do this massage under your abdominal binder for maximum effect. Finally, they say that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So despite the fact that I was actually quite hungry within a day or 2 of having surgery, which I know not everybody has that experience, I tried to avoid eating foods that I know would cause gas or were generally hard to digest. This was a perfect excuse to eat all those simple carbs that I normally try to avoid. While the dietitian in the hospital recommended a high protein and high fiber diet, I knew that I needed to give my digestive system some time to get back up and running again. Above all, I did not want to give my body any excuse to make more gas, so I avoided large amounts of dairy, most vegetables, greasy and spicy food, carbonated drinks, anything that I'd identified as a gas producer for myself in the past. Also, well, I can't say that I was great at following this advice. I know that eating slowly can also help reduce the amount of gas produced in the body while eating. Another important way to control your pain is, to the extent that you have control over it, avoid these things that strain your abdominals: laughing, crying, sneezing, and coughing. I actually chose to avoid watching comedies on TV for the first week because the joy of laughter was overshadowed by the stabbing pain around my incisions. Similarly, I avoided having any emotional conversations to minimize the risk of crying. If you sneeze or cough due to allergies or a cold, God forbid, take medications and whatever measures you can to minimize those symptoms. If you have to do one of these things, apply pressure with your hands to your incisions while you're coughing or sneezing, And then you could also apply heat afterwards or even before if you have enough warning. Once your pain diminishes, usually around days 7 to 10, you can pull back from the oxycodone and just use Tylenol for pain. Between days 10 and 14, you may not even need Tylenol anymore. So you can ease off the medication schedule and just take it when you notice the pain. I would continue taking the simethicone for gas and the stool softeners though, and just taper those off as you feel ready. It might take several weeks. As your physical pain decreases, you may notice that you become more restless, bored, maybe sad or depressed. It's likely that you were planning this donation for a long time, and you may have received a lot of attention from friends and family in the days surrounding your surgery. As time passes, that attention fades, and you might struggle with loneliness or the letdown that follows most big events. If the recipient of your kidney is doing well, that can help give you some comfort. If they're not doing well, that could certainly make this time period infinitely more discouraging. Take advantage of this time to do the things that you wouldn't normally have the time to do, like binge a series on Netflix, read or listen to a romance novel, call your friends or relatives who you don't talk to enough. As you feel better, maybe you spend some time baking treats for yourself or your family. I know most of those suggestions would apply to women. I'm sure there's some things that men could do during this time too. And then there's that walking that you're supposed to be doing. I know my medical team said it's hard to walk too much during your recovery. Well, I didn't necessarily feel that much like walking, but if you can walk outside when the sun is shining, or walk around Costco to get free samples, it makes the walking more enjoyable. One thing remained true during my recovery: sitting around relaxing wasn't very satisfying if I was doing it for 14 hours at a time. To that end, I think it's important to find a few productive things to do with your time, whether it be checking email, watching a required training video, running an errand once you're ready to drive, or reviewing your family budget. Don't be surprised if you think you're recovered one day only to find yourself crashing and needing a 3-hour nap the next day. It is expected for your energy to wax and wane for several weeks after surgery, and that was the experience that I had as well. If you're predisposed to overworking and you have that bumper sticker that says, "You can sleep when you're dead," you'll probably need your loved ones to remind you of the major organ you recently had removed. And in case you need permission, if you're lucky enough to have friends or family offering meals or other assistance, accept the help. It makes them feel good, makes your life easier, and you deserve to be taken care of. Finally, if problems arise during your recovery, don't hesitate to call your nurse coordinator. They should have a number to call during normal business hours and another number available to call during the evenings and weekends. If you have additional tips for fellow donors, please leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.